there gamers! Today we have a preview of SCP Foundation. Hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here and welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we have a preview of SCP Foundation. Thank you to Dig Deep Games for sponsoring this video, and this is a current crowdfunding campaign, so you can check out the Game Found link down below for everything that they have planned. Now this is also a prototype copy in front of me, so all rules, components, things like that subject to change, and I actually have a few different versions in front of me. So I do have miniatures here that are in their unpainted form, but I also have some painted miniatures for you to see what that looks like. So I do highly suggest checking out the Game Found page, because not only do they have miniatures, but they have an acrylic standee version as well. And there are also these battle tokens in the game, where I have cardboard ones in front of me, but there are, I'm throwing everything today. There are also metal ones, so highly suggest checking that out. But SCP Foundation is going to be a game cooperatively for players to be able to basically go through these different missions. Now, I said it like that because I was only able to see the beginning missions of this game, but they're going to require you to do different things and kind of change the rules of the game. So the game does have you go through 3 different phases: the preparation phase, action phase, and then SCP phase, which is the bad guys. And throughout that, the rules will augment that depending on the mission that you're playing. So there's a lot of customization there depending on where you are and what's happening and what players need to be doing. But what you're going to be doing is working with a 0 security level and then trying to upgrade that, because your security level for getting around these areas is really going to be important for the things that you're able to do and what you're able to unlock, because you're going to be commanding your different agents on your turn to do different actions here on the map, also including uncovering the map, which I'll go over in a moment. But players are building out the map made of map tiles over here, so that's something that you're going to be doing with your different agents. But players are also going to want to increase their security level to make sure that they can increase the amount of agents that they're commanding, because that means you're going to have more and more actions available to you. So this is going to be a game where you're trying to level up your characters together, where everyone is working together, but it can be quite scary because the monsters that you are fighting off, they are quite spooky when you see the game. This is actually a game that is meant for 16 plus, so just to let you know that. So it does have a very, very strong theme in it, if that's something that you really enjoy in games, but they're also very difficult monsters. So you are trying to overall contain them, which is, you know, trapping them and things like that. And it can be very, very difficult to do so. But in the meantime, when you're not able to contain them just yet, you're also able to attempt to negotiate with them. So you have a couple options available to you, especially at the beginning as you're getting more and more powerful, but overall players are going to need to meet the conditions of the mission to be able to win that mission. Now here I have it set up for a 3-player game, but I do only have 1 player board here in front of you. So I have this player here with their agents that are available, and the other players are just out here on the board. Now the things that you are going to be fighting against are these SCPs, and at the beginning of the preparation phase, anything that is in this tap position will untap. So SCPs will also untap if they need to, but this is when you're going to move your agents. Now you'll be able to do this, but you can see that this agent actually has a fatigue token on it. So the first thing that you do during this phase is turn anyone vertical, and where he has a token on it, you are not able to do so. He is too tired for this round. So the next part of this preparation phase is going to be removing those tokens, showing that during the next preparation phase he will be able to ready, but currently he is not able to do so. Now, next you would do any directions that are in your particular mission. So for the mission that is set up in front of us, this is currently file 23, and you can see here on the next page, during our preparation phase, if the number of SCPs on the field is less than the number of players, draw an SCP card from the SCP deck and place it anywhere on the field. Skip this in the first round. So you can see where we currently only have 2 in play over here, so we are going to flip this next card over, and this is our hard to destroy reptile. So he is also going to be put into play, and luckily we are able to put them anywhere, so we'll stick him over here for now by himself, but you can see where he is a big scary guy. Now, next during the preparation phase, an action card is going to come out for the SCPs, but they won't perform until it's their phase, which is after the action phase for your people. So you are going to be able to move your O5s first, but you'll be able to see what the actions that are happening are going to be. So taking a look at this card here, you can see which SCPs are going to activate, and this one would be the Safe and the Euclid ones, which are going to be our first 2, but luckily this one is a key term, which means they would not activate. Now they're all going to attack, and this turn interact actions are at advantage. Now when I talk about interact actions, I'll let you know a little bit more about that, but they would all attack. Now, you may think attacking might not be that scary because, for example, our tickle monster over here is not currently sharing a space with any of our agents, and it also is not moving this turn, but I'm going to let you know what their different attack actions are, and you can see where they're very, very dangerous. So for our Shy Guy, his attack action is kill all agents within 2 tiles who hold an attention token. So if you did happen to have an attention token, you would definitely be in trouble and be killed. But the Tickle Monsters is going to be all O5s within 3 tiles, lose 1 card from their hand randomly. So you can see where that can be very bad to be anywhere near him because he's currently affecting all 3 of these guys. Now again, this is during the preparation phase and the SCPs haven't yet had their phase, so you do have some time to be able to get away from certain things and not have them affect you, but if not, you are going to have to suffer those consequences. Now, finally, during the preparation phase, players are able to gain additional agents. So you can see where this player over here has 3 battle tokens. These ones I just had to show you, but they have 3 battle tokens currently, and they're able to spend that to recruit. So when you're recruiting, it's based on the number of agents you have will be the cost of what you need to do for the next agent that you recruit. And then after players recruit, they will refresh the item deck over here because these are very important things to be purchased as well, and this will refresh turn over turn. Now, after the preparation phase, players are going to enter the action phase, which is where you're going to be taking all of your actions with your agents. So to be able to take an action, you're going to use your agent and turn them sideways horizontally so that you're able to activate that action. And the first, foremost, and most important action is going to be explore, because that's how you're building out the map for everyone to be playing on. So for us to explore here with our red character, we would use this agent, say that we are exploring, and then we would be able to grab a map tile and place it out. Now when you do so, you do move directly out onto that spot. So this is actually going to be a city, and when that comes into play, you're going to get both of these benefits. So you're first going to place 6 clue tokens out onto this, which you're able to collect with an interact action, which I will explain a little bit more in a moment. And then you would also gain the benefit after that. Now, another thing about this becoming into play, you do move directly into that area. And something to keep in mind is that players are only able to place tiles depending on some of the restrictions on the tiles. So you can see where these tiles have the red borders. That means that they're impassable terrain and can only be placed in a way that they don't block off the map. You can see we have more over here. But our yellow lines are actually difficult terrain, so you are able to pass through it, but it will cost you additional action tokens to be able to do so. So it's harder and harder to be able to cross these, but you are able to place tiles next to them because you can cross them. Now, the yellow borders are actually a difficult terrain, and you are able to move through them, but it costs you additional movement points. So you have to be able to move 2 additional movement points to be able to cross that yellow border if that's something that you want to do during your turn. So moving on from our first action, another action that players are able to do is just simply move. So once the map is out and you want to move between specific spots as opposed to exploring, you're able to move based on your agent's movement value. So you have a movement value where you can see this agent is a 2, where this one is just a 1, and that is how they would be able to move you around the board as well. Now, another action that players are able to use their agents to do is touch. So for example, we have this character here, and they would be able to touch this Shy Guy to do a few different things. Now, one of them would be able to attempt to contain them, which is pretty difficult. And you can see where this one, their containment value is an 80. So when you're rolling the percentile die, you would have to meet an 80 or above to be able to contain them, but you are also able to negotiate with them as well. So his negotiate value is a 40, and that's how you kind of stop them from being able to move that turn. So for example, if we wanted to slow down this guy over here, perhaps someone would move into their area and then attempt to negotiate with him. Since his negotiation value is only a 35, then they may attempt to do that to slow them down for the round and not have them activate that turn. Now, whenever players contain or negotiate, they also gain a battle token. So that's a way for you to be gaining these, because you'll be spending them not only to recruit, but to increase your level. So this is something else that players are able to do, but this is actually at any point during your turn, not requiring you to use an action for it, you're able to upgrade your security level. As I said, getting these pretty cool security cards, getting higher and higher clearance. And as you do so, they're going to gain specific things for you, such as your maximum number of agents, your maximum hand cards, as well as gaining skills that will be placed into these different levels for you. Now, another thing that you're able to spend these tokens on is gaining an additional skill when you're placing those. Now, as I noted, players are able to interact with certain tiles as well, and that's something that you would also use as an action. So again, I would have many more agents available if I was doing all of these actions. I'm just explaining them all to you. But to be able to interact, you would interact with a specific area. So this one, for example, it wants you to roll at least a 60% to gain 1 clue token. So to do so, you would grab your percentile die over here, roll them, and there we have an 32, so that would not have done it. Sorry, I thought it was an 82, which would have been much better, but a 32 would not have allowed us to grab that clue token. Now, some of these are going to vary where the checks may be harder or easier, but they're all going to be relative to what you're gaining from that. Now, players are also able to purchase and then play cards that are going to be extremely useful throughout the game. So you can see here where they have a battle token cost. For example, this one is just a 1, and it can support range +2 this turn, meaning that you are able to use your interact action much further away, and it is able to be used immediately. Another example is reset 1 agent at the end of the turn, then they gain a fatigue token. So you'd be able to use an agent for an action, reset them, use them for an additional action, but then they would gain fatigue, basically meaning that you're using an action early for them that turn. Now, finally, another thing that players are able to do outside of their turn is support other players. So if there's another player making a specific check, such as an interaction or they're trying to do a containment, you're able to use one of your agents. Again, you'd have to be able to turn it horizontally to contribute and support to that as long as they're within your range. Now, finally, after players go through the action phase, it's going to be the SCP phase. Now, that's when those cards that you already saw during the preparation phase are going to activate. So you kind of have an idea of what's happening, and that's why I'm not going to explain it, because I did already tell you what those would be, but this is when it would all be happening now. So you kind of have that sense of urgency of trying to be able to stop or mitigate as much as you're able to, and perhaps negotiate with these different creatures before this phase happens. So this phase will take place. They will have any mission-specific things that will happen, because again, the missions are really going to change everything that you're playing with this game as you move throughout the different missions, but then they're going to have all of their different actions, and then you'll check to see if you've met the conditions for that mission to win this particular game. So you can see if you won, and if not, you'll loop back over to the preparation phase again. Now, just to give you a sense of that, I'm going to take you back here to file 23. So the thing that we are trying to do is there is a mysterious fog in the city, and we are trying to get to level 5 or higher to form a team to investigate this. So what you're trying to do is find town in city A and gather player times 2 clues, then open mission file 47. So you're trying to gain at least 6 clues for this 3-player game, and then you're trying to meet that condition, which is going to be this over here, our town A. So you're trying to find that, have enough clue tokens, and then after that you would meet those conditions and then move forward to file 47. But you can also see during that preparation phase that you would draw the SCP cards if you need to. So this also gives us the directions that during the preparation phase, that's when we would be drawing extra SCPs if needed, and during the SCP phase, this is actually drawing additional action cards. So this is where you can see that a wrench is really thrown into your plan, that if the number of SCPs on the field is greater than or equal to the number of players, draw an additional action card from the SCP action deck and execute it immediately. This means that you can see how the mission really changes, that players won't know everything that's coming, but you will know that if you're able to take them out and perhaps contain them very early and keep that number low, you might be okay and be able to survive and stop that from happening. But again, even if multiple action cards are happening, you'll be able to survive a little bit and work together with everyone, because as they come out, only specific ones will activate. So you can also kind of know which ones might be activating later based on what has already happened. So you do have that in mind, but other than that, they're just going to be coming for you. Now, finally, one thing to keep in mind is that your agents are also probably going to die. It's not great and you don't want them to, but some of them inevitably are going to die on you, and that's going to happen when you're attempting to contain. So when you attempt to contain or negotiate, when you successfully do so, you will gain a battle token, but if you're not successful in containing, they'll actually do a damage back to your agent. So that is going to be a wound marker that you will put on your agent, and as soon as any of them receive 2, they will die on you and be removed. Overall, SCP Foundation is going to be one of those games that has a very strong cooperative element, because not only are these SCPs very overwhelming, where they're strong, you need to be working together, you need to be upgrading your security clearance and trying to gain as many things as you can, especially recruiting the different agents that you're able to do so that you're able to do more actions. Everyone's really going to be invested in each other's turns as well, because this can get quite scary and you might need to be working together to be able to accomplish different things that you need to, because negotiating with these SCPs before you attempt to contain them can be very strong by putting off what they're going to do, because you can kind of anticipate the different actions that they're going to be taking. But the missions all change the game very drastically, where it's going to have you on your toes and constantly trying to make it all work and make it out alive, because you really want to be able to help out your team, and these guys are really big and bad and scary, so it can get quite intense. Now, again, I do highly suggest checking out the GameFound link down below for everything that they have planned, because there's a whole bunch of different versions of this game, from acrylic standees to the miniatures and things like that, and there are also expansions that you're able to look at if you want to have even scarier SCPs or certain ones that speak to you. This has been a preview of SCP Foundation, the board game Confidential Crisis. I've been Professor Meg. Thank you all for watching the Board Game Code channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!